Well, God's blessings to you. Today we are featuring a book that not a lot of people know about this book or the author. But I think that if you go to Michigan and you go to Holland, Michigan, and you maybe talk amongst the older generation of folks in Holland, Michigan, which is in western Michigan, they'll know who this is. They'll say, "Oh yeah, the Reverend Bastian Kruithof." And let me just give you a little background of who that is, Bastian Kruithof, before we get into this work. Kruithof actually was a graduate of Calvin Seminary, and for 10 years in the 1940s, which is the period in which he wrote this book, he was actually the pastor of First Reformed Church in Holland, Michigan. And from 1943 to 1953, he held the pulpit there. But let's just talk a little bit about his background and his education. He did his grad work actually at Columbia and as well as the University of Michigan. He got his PhD. He went over to Scotland to the University of Edinburgh and got his PhD in theology there. So after completing his studies there, then he came back to the States. He did some teaching in New Jersey as well. He was a professor of theology there. He actually also pastored a church in New Jersey, Paterson, New Jersey, I believe, and then finished up his career in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which really is known in the Reformed world as the hub of Reformation theology. A lot of the great printing of books have come out in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and so he pastored there. He actually passed away in 1990, and the Reverend Kruithof was a pastor for many years, all the way up until his death in 1990. But so that's a little bit about a background of the author, Bastian Kruithof. Let's talk about this book. Now, this is a book that you're not going to find in bookstores, contemporary brick and mortar bookstores today. I mean, nowadays you go into a Christian section of a bookstore and you're lucky to find anything solidly Reformed or Christian whatsoever. You're going to find a lot of liberal theology, and you're going to find a lot of philosophy. And you'll find a lot of false gospel, but you will not find a book like this. This is one of those diamond in the rough books that really just is not well known, but is just absolute gold. Came out, as I said, in 1949, so a good 72 years ago, roughly. And so the book title, let's talk about that, The High Points of Calvinism. Now, there are a lot of books on Calvinism and Calvinist theology out there, but this one is very, I like to call this one kind of Kuyperian, meaning it's got, it really digs much deeper than just the 5 points of Calvinism. In fact, it's really going deeper than just stating those points. In fact, I don't even think it really specifically will go through those points. Those points all come out in the work, but it doesn't really just list those in a practical fashion. So what does it do? Well, it's really a great little piece of literature because it's only 90 pages long, but it really, the Calvinistic theology comes out in the book. What Dr. Kruithof is doing in the book is he's expressing the rich undertones of Calvinism. In other words, its worldview, its ethics, its morality, its nature, its values, and this is the thing. A really good, sound Calvinist theology doesn't really have to pound out the 5 points for you. It can just go through the biblical doctrine, and the Calvinism will come out through the biblical doctrine. Because, as Spurgeon once said, Calvinism is really just a nickname for the Bible. In fact, I have kind of a running saying that I like to say that Calvinism, it shouldn't even be called Calvinism. It should be called Bibleism, because really that is what Reformed theology is. It's pure biblical, scriptural theology. And if if you're a good student of the Bible, you know that the Bible is saturated with the doctrines of grace. And so this is just such a rich treasure, great read. And if you can find it, definitely try to find a copy of it. The High Points of Calvinism, Bastian Kruithof.